Hometown Happenings is brought to you by Foothill 7 TV and the Thompson's family of automotive dealerships.
I was completely blown away by actual faces of homelessness. My interpretation, or what I would see in my head of a homeless person, was somebody on the street, on the corner, you know, has their sign out and they're gonna get their dollars and then they disappear. Or it's somebody who did get their money and they go and get drunk and they're causing chaos in the streets. And so that was kind of my thought of, it was just a homeless man, degenerate person. But when I got to the Community Resource Center, that is not who you see as homeless. You see a mom who, gosh, just left her husband finally because he beat her up so bad, and they have two little girls, and now they're homeless and they have nowhere to go.
We have a client who was a teacher who was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and because of surgery and so much time missed from work, he lost his apartment and lived in a car to sustain himself. And this is a teacher that teaches our children. When I first met this client that I'm thinking of, I was shocked that was actually, she was literally homeless. Like, that's it. She has nowhere to go, no family here. A mother who has lost 2 sons in a drunk driving accident is consumed with grief and loss. Loses her job, loses her home, loses her dignity. She is a mother that could be your neighbor. You see a lot of children with their family, and their parents are afraid to even go seek help anywhere, because if they feel like if somebody finds out that their kid's homeless with them, that their child's going to be taken away. Homelessness isn't something that discriminates. There are so many ways to prevent homelessness. Our first belief is to become an advocate. Homelessness population normally doesn't have a family that supports them. They burned all their bridges. They have very few friends, and so they really need somebody to advocate for them. We like to make our faces well known in the community, that we are rooting for our homeless population, and that we walk proudly with them. You start changing the mentality that our homelessness population is not hopeless, we can have great change start there. The best tool that I've found so far, and I'm very new to the Community Resource Center, is that people want to know that they're valued. And I have found that through encouragement, that is probably the most profound way to empower them. The Housing First ideology is where we want to house somebody first, and then once they're in a safe environment, kind of get acclimated back into what living in a house would be like for them. Because we're talking a chronically homeless person. If we get them into a house, we can get them stable enough to wrap our services around them, and then we can discover if they need mental health. You know, if they have mental health issues, then they need mental health to help them. If they have substance abuse issues, we can figure that out too. But in order to help somebody get well, you got to get them in a place of security. And once you do that, they feel a little safer. And the other thing is, you don't have to go search for them, because the chronic homeless that we serve, sometimes you got to go find them and they disappear. And so getting into a house, getting them into stability, finding what their real needs are and meeting those needs really helps somebody to figure out that living in a home and being stable is much better than living out, you know, on the streets and begging and things like that. So that's why we believe in housing first. I was reading about an article in the Huffington Post that was published in 2012, and they published a study that was done by the University of Carolina with a facility called the Moore Place. And what they did basically was they housed 85 homeless adults. And they found that within 1 year's time,
They had saved taxpayers $1.8 million in just medical care costs alone. And that was largely due because homeless people had a place to live and they weren't on the streets where most of the crimes are committed. Keep in mind that it costs probably over $30,000 to keep someone in prison. And the emergency rooms are just being taken advantage of for the homeless population to go in and get free medical care, a hot meal, and maybe even a place to stay.
Susie's house is a place that we pay the rent for. It's a little studio apartment that's here in Placerville. It's kind of in a private location. We don't let the location out because sometimes we house people that are in danger. So what we do is we go through an application process. If the person that is applying fits, then we move them into Susie's house. It's completely furnished, shower, food, everything. And we pay their rent for 4 to 6 months. We help them if they don't have a job yet, we help them find a job. And then once they have employment, we also follow alongside them with a budget, and they have to save 70% of their income. So once that 4 to 6 months is up, they're ready to move out on their own. We find another apartment that fits them. But most of the time the Susie House people are completely homeless when we move them in. They hadn't had a home for a long time, so they really don't have anything other than what's on their back. I would say Susie's House is not a place for somebody who needs a lot of follow through, because there's only me and another person that follows this person in their life. So it's somebody who we feel like just needs encouragement, a leg up, and then they can kind of pick it up on their own and then move on.
So our H.E.A.R.T team is a very small group, but mighty force of women right now who constantly work and volunteer their time to work hands-on and to desperately try and house people. We're case managers. We assess people. We try and make recommendations, referrals, and we try to build trusting and honest relationships with our clients. Although we are small and mighty, we need volunteers. We need volunteers. We need people that have a heart that's filled with grace and compassion and want to make changes in the lives of our homeless population.
In the work that we do, it's not 100% success rate ever, but boy, when we get a success, it's amazing. The one that sticks out to me the most is a family who previously, before I met them, they had their other children taken away. They had older children that were removed from the home. She ended up getting pregnant again. They were meth users and were not taking care of anything but their meth use. She had her baby, and as soon as she had that baby, the baby was removed from their home. Well, actually at the hospital. She left without her baby. CPS got involved and said, you know, if you want to have your children back, this is the steps that you need to do. One of them was they had to go to rehab for 30 days. So they both went to rehab for 30 days. They had to go and test all the time. We're on probation, all these things. So I come into contact with them when they have hit all the things they need to do for CPS. The last thing they need to do is they need to find housing in order to have all their children brought back in. If they can't find housing, then it's over. Their children will be fostered out. So they came to us at the Community Resource Center, told us what was going on. They gave me a whole list of things that they had against them. They had at least 3 evictions on their record, and to get any public housing with Section 8, it's really hard. If you have a felony, if you have evictions, you can't, nobody's gonna look at your application. So what we did was we had her write a letter of everything that she's done to make things right in her life. We had her contact certain people. We gave them both action items to do and check off. And I started looking for housing for them. I called Section 8 because I asked them, would it be possible for you to give them another extension? And the lady was super nice, super helpful, totally get it, that she was like, we've given them 60 days. If they can't find in 60 days, they're probably not gonna find it. And I said, but we're so close. Like, we have an apartment manager who is like, yes, I think they'll fit. We just have to go through the process. I said, they need 2 more weeks, just 2 more weeks. And she was like, well, I don't know, I don't think so. And so then I left and hung up the phone, and then went and visited the apartment manager and just told him how close we were. And I said, it might not hurt if you called this lady, and here's her number and here's her name, and if you tell her that you're the apartment manager and you have approved them, but you need 2 more weeks for your process, she might just extend it. And so I left there, go home, I get an email saying that he called them and they gave him 30 more days. And that he was like, yeah, she was like, totally great, glad to hear from you. Nobody from apartments ever calls me. So it was like really fun to see that somebody just extended themselves like that. And now they're safe in housing. They've got their other kids back with them. I see them all around in the community, and we just kind of at each other, because it's clients are private. But it's just that was really exciting to see. That was a really neat thing. I'd like more of those wins.
There is nothing better than the sweet success and the reward of human kindness. And I have been very blessed to be able to house a handful of people. There's nothing better than that feeling. My favorite success story would be probably a story about a relationship that I've just made with an apartment manager who was somewhat disgruntled and somewhat grumpy. And now we have a trusting relationship, and he helps us to actually house people, seniors, in his apartments, and he does it with a smile on his face. So I consider that successful when we can actually reach the heart of people who are helping us with resources.
The H.E.A.R.T team is full of women, and none of us are vets. That's a place that we really, really need some help in. We know a lot of the options that are out there for veterans, like Volunteers of America, and there's a huge veteran help at Mather. But for us personally, it's really hard for us to help a vet because we've never gone through that ourselves. We don't understand what a lot of their issues are. We could do better if we had some men on our team who maybe have walked that part of that life and understand what those men are going through. You can go to our website. It's super easy to donate to the Community Resource Center. And what I promise will happen with those dollars is that we will house people. We will make sure that they're safe. We will make sure that if they need help with their propane, that gets taken care of. The other thing I wanted to kind of point out to you is that if you feel comfortable giving $1 to somebody on the street, then I just want you to know that we could do so much more with that $1. So if you feel like you want to give $1 to somebody on the street, I would ask that you give it to the Community Resource Center or Salvation Army and let us double your money on that person.
We would really like to just shout out and say thank you to the Women's Fund who generously donates to the Community Resource Center, and also the American Legion who donates for our veterans. And with that money, we are able to do a lot for our homeless population, not only just getting people housed, but doing preventative homeless, proactive things for them. We don't just assist in their deposits for their apartments, but we give bus vouchers. We do really all sorts of things that really just meet their immediate needs. So we would just like to say how grateful we are for those organizations that do step up and donate, because those monies are making a huge difference in many, many, many lives. So thank you.